Thursday, September 5th. Welcome, Larry.
Hello, everyone. Today looks like the hurricane is still occupying a good part of the news. So it's a dangerous time for things to be going on with the government. And just a couple of things to clear up. Number one, today I hear that it looks like China is wanting to talk about getting back to the table with the trade negotiations. Again, folks, I'll tell you that they're probably not dealing in the most honest way. They are just trying to do everything they can to keep Trump from applying major tariffs on more things to force their economy down to where they can't hold out till 2020's election. But the name of the game for China right now is to do everything in their power to make President Trump lose in 2020. And guys, it's our situation to where our lives depend on whether or not we win or lose in 2020. So keep your fingers crossed and your prayers handy for President Trump to be able to use his negotiating skills and his business acumen to force China to back off. Probably the most incredible thing yesterday to me was the fact that the board of directors, or whatever they are for San Francisco, ruled that the NRA is a domestic terrorist organization. Domestic terrorist organization. Do you see what they're doing, guys? They're going after the NRA. Why? It's not the NRA that they're going after, in case you don't know. It's not what that's about. This is another lick, another hit on Trump's soft base. You see, there are a lot of NRA members that are Trump's soft base. Quite a few, I would imagine. Don't know the exact number. But by labeling them a domestic terrorist organization is another way, just like racism, just like calling everybody white supremacist or white nationalists. It's another way to brand anybody that might support President Trump and to try to get supporters of Trump to back off, and not use their voices. You see, this all ties to what I've tried to tell y'all for years. The Founding Fathers gave us 3 bullets, as it were, to save our country. Our voices collectively, and our votes. Everything they can do to get our voices shut down, they're doing it. And they're trying to make anybody that is not with them, to be honest, they're just trying to destroy us. They're literally trying to destroy you, every one of you that hear me right now, every one of you. They are literally aiming at you and trying to destroy you. They're not just trying to get you to vote their way. They're trying, if you're not going to vote their way, or they suspect you will not vote their way, they will not stop until they destroy you. Now, how does that feel?
Awful.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? Every one of you out there. How does that make you feel? I've gone through it. They have destroyed me. They've destroyed my name, my credibility. They've done it all. But now they're coming after you. Every one of you. You see, it's not Trump's problem anymore. It's not Washington's problem anymore. They're coming after you. And every one of you should feel that rope, that noose tightening around your neck every day. It should be so real to you by now that it's palatable, that you literally can feel that stranglehold. That's what they're doing. The question is, what are we doing? Are we going to take it? Now, let me go straight, if you will, to asking y'all if you have questions or comments. Send them in now, please.
We have several already, Larry.
Let them rip, because I don't feel real good, so let them go.
All right. Randy says the other side is calling for Trump's donors to be named and shamed publicly. Business owners, as well, as we've seen. I appreciate when we have awake, aware, astute people who know what's going on, and they're supporting the chat room with true information that goes along with what you're saying. Okay, she has a question. Why is Jason Greenblatt, a diplomat pushing for a Middle East peace plan, why is he leaving the Trump administration?
Don't know. I will try to find out, but I do not know. Can't answer that one.
Okay, KK says it looks like we're being taken over by Israel.
By Israel? No, good Lord, no.
Okay.
Let me say this about that. Israel has people that have money, Israelis. A lot of the wealthy people in this nation are Jews. And they have, for a long time, bought clout with our government. I'm not going to say they haven't. But I would ask this of people that think Israel is coming after us or taking advantage of us. What has Israel ever done to us? What have they done other than create their own country in a sea of Islam? What was that, in 1946, 48?
48.
And they do everything they can, any and everything they can, in the interest of keeping their nation. They're not trying to do a global takeover. Israel's not. Israel's not an expansionist country. Israel is trying to exist. And much of the loyalty of the United States of America towards Israel, believe it or not, folks, is biblical. You see, foundationally, we are supposed to be a Christian nation. We were, I don't know anymore, but we're supposed to be. And Israel, biblically, Mary Ellen, you can tell better than I, but it's God's nation. It's supposed to be there. Therefore, we have, as a nation, done what we can do, everything we can do to support Israel. We have not, I repeat, have not been overly ugly, kind word, to like the to the Palestinians. We haven't. But when the Palestinians do what they do and attack Israel, then yeah, we stand with Israel. As a matter of fact, we don't stand, to my thinking, for enough with Israel versus the Palestinians. But it's not my call. But Israel doesn't try to take over the United States of America like China, like Russia, like Islam, like many coming up through the southern border. That's not Israel. It's not trying to do that. What you got, Marianne?
I heard somebody complaining this morning about really lambasting Trump because of the peace plan and the 100,000 Palestinians that are going to Canada, the 16,000 going to Spain, 16,000 to Belgium, 16,000 to, I forgot what the third country was. And she was really having quite a cow about that. And, why are they helping them come everywhere? And I think the other 16 was for us. I can't remember for sure, but pretty upset that this was part of the peace plan and that Trump was supporting this kind of migration.
Well, number one, I don't know that Trump is supporting that type of migration at all. There is a certain allocation of Palestinians allowed to come into this country each year in accordance with our border situation. But I see nothing showing President Trump having an interest in where Palestinians go relative to Egypt or to Europe or anywhere else. I just don't see it. I don't think it exists. I think we finally have a president, y'all, that cares about us, cares about America and what comes here. And I know for a fact President Trump is very concerned about any peoples coming here from countries in the Middle East. Very much concerned. What else?
David has quite a few things here, and we'll just get your reaction. He's making statements rather than questions.
All right, let him rip.
There was an attack to sink our ship, the USS Liberty. Blame it on Egypt. Israel's done other false flags. They spy on us. They send agents caught celebrating on 9/11. You need to take a closer look. All is not as it seems. Beware of deception in the last days. I have a feeling major revelations are coming out about Israel and 9/11.
I've heard most of the stories concerning 9/11 having to do with Israel. Now, my opinion, that's all it is, David, my opinion, because I have no absolute guaranteed positive intelligence other than what we supposedly know. Number one, I don't believe that those 17 men acted alone go up the Twin Towers. I don't. But I do not believe Israel, as a nation, had one thing to do with it. Now, does that mean Jewish people might have been involved? Yes, I guess there could have been Jews acting on their own that could have taken part in it. I don't know. I can't prove it. So if I can't prove it, I'm not going to impugn anyone or any country. I can't at this point.
And a lot of what I've heard.
I know there's a lot of resentment and hatred for Israel. I know it exists. But let me tell y'all, David, all of you, just so that you know, it doesn't exist here. Benjamin Netanyahu is a friend of mine. He is a friend of mine. And I know his heart from years and years and years of being with him. And I do not hold with an anti-Israeli sentiment. Not here. Go ahead, Mariana.
Okay, Randy says Fox News reported Turkey is saying they want to be nuclearized, and Erdogan is saying he will send Syrian refugees to the West. Is that true?
Turkey has wanted to have nuclear weapons for quite some time. They will not get them from us. They will not. And the second part was what?
Erdogan's saying he'll send Syrian refugees to the West.
I don't know about that. I do not know. I will find out, but as it stands right now, I do not know about that. And let me just say this. He can say whatever he wants to say if he did say that. He can say he's going to send Syrian refugees to the moon. That does not mean he will be allowed to. So if I were Erdogan, I would not be filling their empty rooms and sending in the cleaning ladies, because I'm not so sure he's going to be able to do that. Yeah. Go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it wasn't just Palestinians that I heard were coming to Canada and Belgium, and I think it was also Lebanese and Syrians. David claims, it says here, that the FBI released documents in May that Israeli intelligence was all over the U.S., caught taking pictures celebrating on 9/11 with box cutters and explosive residue.
That's not true.
Yeah.
David, I don't know who is sending you that stuff, but that is not true.
Okay, the next question. Why hasn't Hillary, KK asked, why hasn't Hillary been put in jail? Well, it's not just Hillary, it's the whole cabal.
Well, one of the problems, as I have tried to explain to y'all here, as a part of the negotiated deal between Comey, Loretta Lynch, and the Clintons, she and her top-level cabinet people, as a part of Comey's quote-unquote investigation, were given non-prosecution agreements in perpetuity. So she's got a pass on a lot of stuff, not on everything. But you can chalk this one up to James Comey and Loretta Lynch. And then you say, well, how can he do that? When he was in his capacity as the head of the FBI with the Attorney General of the time, Loretta Lynch, they could issue such clearances. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on the key Trump administration and Ivanka pushing social credit score for red flag laws under HERPA?
All right. Now, is that his daughter, Ivanka, or Melania? Which is his daughter?
Ivanka? Ivanka's the daughter.
Okay. Let me tell you, folks, President Trump and Ivanka on that issue are not together. President Trump will never see a day under his watch when high-tech social scores and so forth, that kind of data, will be included in any kind of background check for guns or anything else. When you get to that, Miss Ivanka doesn't understand. If you do that, then go ahead and call us a communist country, because they'll be able to spy on any and every one of us legally, which they can't do now legally. All right, what's next?
Do we still have time for statute of limitations for Comey?
Yes, most definitely. Comey's not going to wiggle out of this one, guys. James Comey is not going to get out of this. Several things have started that you may or may not know about. But for example, Kevin Nunes has started a lawsuit, as has the guy that was Trump's attorney, Sekulow.
Yeah, ACLU.
They have filed a lawsuit, and they both intend, although they are separate, they both intend to gather through discovery under the rules of their suits to bring forth any and all evidence that in case somebody is trying to cover it up within the Justice Department, it will not happen. These suits are legitimate, and they do have the right to the information that they seek, and they are, I promise you, they are going to get it. What you may not know, maybe I shouldn't even tell, maybe I better be careful. Well, let's just hypothetically say it would not surprise me to see, in reference to those two suits plus two more that are going to be filed by others, it would not surprise me to see President Trump issue to all departments, whether it be the FBI, CIA, State Department. It would not surprise me to see him issue an order that they cooperate fully with any and all lawsuits that stand the test of going to court.
I
Trust me.
heard today that Barr was putting forth some, I don't remember how many it was, sealed indictments, but it sounded, the names rang no bell with me, and it sounded to me like they were a little lower level than the names that we normally hear.
Let me answer that this way. Attorney General Barr, to my knowledge, which I think I have a good way to know, is not issuing at this time any sealed indictments, period, nor does he intend to issue any sealed indictments. Now, having said that, do not confuse. If he is looking to impanel grand juries, that is secret, but it has nothing to do with a quote-unquote sealed indictment. So somebody might be confusing, if they know anything for real about anything, they might be confusing Barr going forward with some grand juries, and they think that means indictment. What else you got, Mary Ellen?
Somebody just asked if it's safe to send you cash, and I just typed in yes. The address is on the website, nicholslife.com.
It is absolutely safe. And let me say to those yesterday and last night that sent something, thank you. Thank you so very much. And Randy, thank you just now for the 10 she sent. Once again, my PayPal is nicholslive@aol.com. nicholslive@aol.com. And if you want me, if you value me at all, doing the things that I'm doing, which does not just simply mean this program, then support me. Do it now. There were several people that did yesterday, and I'm oh so grateful. You have no idea how grateful I am. But there were a ton of other people that have not yet. So everybody that hears me, this is your judgment day. This is it. I tried to tell you yesterday. I had a couple of conversations, not with y'all, but with people of reasonable importance, I guess you would say. This is it. This is it. It's going down November of 2020. This is it. The next day after November 2020, we're going to know whether we have a country or not. Now, there's going to be all manner of placades and lying, trying to convince everybody not to panic or go overboard, but you must know, surely to God you know, if they take power based off what they've got in place right now, don't you see, it just takes a little bit more. All they need to complete the complete takeover of our form of government, to transform it all they need is the presidency. That's all they need. And even if President Trump loses and we don't lose the Senate, which we will, but let's just say even if we didn't, you and I know there's probably not 5 or 6 members of the Republican Party in the Senate that are true patriots, that are not just as big a part of the deep state as anybody on the Democrat side ever thought about being. This is it. We don't have time to wait any longer. We don't have time to sit back any longer. I've got to engage. I've got to. Or get out. I must engage or just drop it and go away. And I fear if I drop it and go away, I might be guilty of helping the enemy, just like the person that's for Trump but doesn't vote in 2020. We've got to do now. Talking don't matter no more. Doing matters. Doing is what it's all about. So, dear God, would y'all get on that internet and ding that PayPal? Ding it. And if you can send cash, send it, please. If anybody's sending any amount that's significant, you might get in touch with Mary Ellen and we might be able to work out a way to Western Union it so it gets here in time to help immediately.
Yeah, we've got.
This is your battle. Every one of you, you're going to suit up. Let me just say it this way: every one of you are in this game. Every one of you. You can't not be in it. You can't dodge it. You can't miss it. You are in it. Now, you can not do your duty by not voting, and you did vote. You voted to get rid of Trump. By just not voting, you vote to get rid of Trump. I ask that you help me as well. That's your call. You may think I'm not worth it. That's fine. I can do nothing any longer. I can't do anything anymore to try to prove to y'all the worth of what I do. I can't do it. Most of you have been around me long enough to know that when I tell you something, it happens. And when it's something that matters, if I know about it ahead of time and can and am allowed to tell, and not violate an arrangement of secrecy. I do tell you. As a matter of fact, I tell you oftentimes when I shouldn't. But you are the most informed group of Americans about what is going on now and tomorrow and in the future. You know more, I promise you. You may not realize it, but you know more than anybody else in the country. Anybody else that listens to Hannity, to Tucker, to Ingram, to the internet, to the Q, to the Who, to the whatever. You've got it. They don't. What else, Mary Helen?
I'm looking. I've seen comments, but John says we're helping ourselves by helping Larry, and that is absolutely true. Larry's a hero for what he's exposed in his efforts to educate and save our republic. MW says, with no guns, we're defenseless. We need our guns. There are too many rhinos. That's true.
Yeah, guns for y'all should equal submission. The whole point of the progressives, the Democrats as you see it, the whole point to them of taking our firearms is to give them the ability, well, to get rid of the tool we have, potentially could have, to protect our nation from a tyrannical government if it goes so far. They intend to strip you of that, which means, in their terms, submission. This is a step 2 of putting you in submission. Step 1 is to take your money through nationalizing the financial institutions. Now, has somebody asked me the question, Mary Ellen, since we're scared of the banks here in case they win and they nationalize them and take our money, what about using a foreign bank? Has anybody asked me that?
No.
Okay.
But I'll ask it now.
Okay, ask it.
So what about using a foreign bank?
You can't. Or, now there might be some little home-owned bank in Scandinavia that's owned by just a small group of people that might make the cut. But when they nationalize the financial institutions of America, that is the same thing pretty much as nationalizing most of the financial institutions around the world. It really is. So no, you're not safe. Glad you asked.
All right, David is being a little difficult. He says,
Just stop it. I don't want to deal
with him.
with this. No more, David, and just please, no more today. I'm not being ugly. I don't mean to be ugly.
Yeah.
But this is not the place to go, so that all of you hear this, all right? Rightly or wrongly, this is not the place to go to talk down Israel. It's just not. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not. Do they have spies in America? Yes, they do, I'm sure. I don't know it for a fact, but I'm sure they do. Guess what? We got spies in Israel. Washington, D.C., you cannot walk. I heard this said by Bill Casey. And think about how long ago it was I was talking to Bill Casey. He said you cannot walk a city block in Washington, D.C. that you don't at least step on 10 spies from some country or somewhere. Yes, sir. And it's worse today. What you got, Mary Ellen?
Somebody asked something about Alex Jones. Hang on, let me go see. Does Alex listen to this channel for information?
Don't know. Do not know. But I do know that Alex, through InfoWars, has done an article talking about and saying basically that Trump is looking at going along with what you asked earlier about the red flag with using the high-tech social networks to spy on people. That is not true. That is not true. The article in InfoWars is not true. As it relates to President Trump, could it be Ivanka? Yes. Could be her. I don't know that for a fact. I do know that she is asking for red flag laws. The specificity of the kind of laws she's asking, I do not know. I don't want to know. Puts me in a bad situation. What you got, Miriam?
I'm just going to reiterate, anybody questioning that you get the truth here has to realize the contacts that Larry has to know the actual source of information. And this is not a place for disinformation. And if you need to really consider, when you hear something that disagrees with what you hear here, that you need to consider the source and look for proof and validation and verification. And Larry never has said that he's perfect. And if you disagree, you have the right to do that. But he has told us things that are coming, and they have come to pass. And he knows well. And so please just pay attention to what he is saying, and let's not discredit or disagree. It doesn't serve anybody to be difficult in the chat at all.
No, and I wish you wouldn't. And folks, I'm sorry if there's dissenting remarks in the chat, and I know probably there are. Let me tell y'all something straight up. Straight up. If President Trump himself asked me to come on this program or anywhere else and give y'all disinformation, I would not do it. I will not do it. I will not do it. Now, if I were to be asked to not tell something as a matter of security, I won't tell it. I will not. I'll tell y'all up front. I know things that I'm not telling you. But I even draw a line there. If I know something that will hurt you, any of you, you can bet your life or my life that if there's something I know that could hurt any of you, I will get it out. I will get it out. But nobody owns me. Nobody owns me. Obviously, if they did, I wouldn't be begging y'all for the help. And as far as information I give you, I simply ask y'all to treat me fairly, would you? Does a track record mean anything anymore? Does it? Does history mean anything anymore? I don't just blindly, or I don't ask you to just blindly believe me on matters. I do the best I can to give you a situation where I tell you if it's just my opinion or if I say it's going to happen. But here's the kicker. Look at the things I have told you that nobody could have known. Nobody was even talking about. I'll give you a quick example. Reparation. I told you about reparation before he even took office. While he was waiting to he'd been elected, but he was waiting to take office. I told you two things back then, that far back. I told you they were going to impeach him and about reparation. Didn't I, Mary Ellen? You were there.
Yep.
If I'm lying, Mary Ellen, I beg you to tell them the truth. If I'm lying, tell them I'm lying.
Well, you definitely said about the impeachment, and I remember you started talking about reparations in July. one may have been 2016 for impeachment, and one may have been 2017 for reparations. But before anybody else knew there was any thought about reparations, you told us that you had seen the paperwork where they were going to present it to the House.
Mm-hmm. So I'm asking you guys, don't write me off until you check me out. Check out my history of those things, please. And before you go believing some of the other stuff that's on the internet, I ask you to use the same standard of them. Don't cut me any slack, but don't cut them any. How many times I'm picking it out of the blue, Q as an example, how many times has he told you something that was coming? Do we all remember, what was it, the 60-something thousand sealed indictments? And then when it didn't happen, they came back and said, well, it's going to happen. It just didn't happen then. Well, now, they ain't never happened. And I told you they were never going to happen. Help me, and I'll keep you where you need to be. There'll never be a day on this program, never a day, that you'll be behind and something slip up and hurt us that I have access to. And there's things I guess I don't have access to, but it's a pretty narrow window when you start talking about things that can hurt us. So this gets me. Why is my thing not dinging? Why is that PayPal thing not dinging? Now, I understand some can't. Please believe me. I know can't. But there are a bunch that can, that aren't. And there are people that have goodly amounts of funds that they could help us significantly. And it wouldn't bankrupt them. It wouldn't hurt. It might hurt, but it wouldn't destroy them.
Yeah, if you've got a chunk of money that you will lose if we end up socialized, it would be wise to help Larry and send a large chunk of money so that he can negotiate a discount on getting the help he needs.
Mary Ellen, let's change that. If you're sitting on that kind of money, do something with some of it. Send it somewhere where somebody can help in this fight. Because if we lose in 2020, you're going to have none. You hear me? You're not going to have any. Now, I'm no financial advisor. I'm not telling you that. And I'm asking you, if you don't believe that, to go back and look on the computer historically at countries that have fallen to socialism and communism, and you tell me what happened to the money. That's the game of socialism and communism, guys. That's how it works. That's the principle by which it works. When they take over a country, the first thing they do is strip it of its wealth. Check it out. That's the first thing they do is strip it of its wealth.
And like Venezuela,
that's what the problem. That's what happened to the Soviet Union. They went around. They grew the Soviet Union. They took so many countries, included them in it. But then when they stripped them of their wealth, they ended up with all these countries that they had taken all of their money, all of their wealth, and they had all these people that were starving, and they couldn't feed them. So you know what? They busted up the Soviet Union. That's why now Putin is rebuilding the Russian Empire. He's not reconstructing the old Soviet bloc. No way. That failed. But do it with somebody. If you want to help Tom Fenton, Judicial Watch, fine. Or if you want to help Sekulow, fine. But those are about the only two I'm thinking of right quick. And there's another, a friend of mine tells me about the bunch that goes around sneaking videos inside Project Veritas or whatever it's called. Yeah. You know, there are places you can put your money other than me. There are, but not many. But you need to do it with somebody. help us in this fight. Help anybody that's actually doing the work. Please.
Do you, if when they nationalize the banks, do you have any idea when that will happen?
Sometime within the first 6 months. It'll be very quick. I would imagine right after the election, I can see a scenario. Now, this is my opinion. Do you hear me? My opinion. I can see a scenario right after the election, prior to the new president being sworn in. That's important. That there is a major collapse of the stock market or something that will cause the country financially to go into like a 2008 panic. And then the new president, when he comes in or she comes in, will come in right away with a plan to save the country. And the way to save the country is to nationalize the banks. And it will make you think, they will make you think that if they nationalize the banks or the financial institutions, that will protect your money. And people will believe that because they'll be scared to death that it's all about the collapse. So they'll write in and say, we're going to protect your money by nationalizing the financial institutions. That way the American people will go for it hook, line, and sinker. And then when they complete the task, they'll go through step one of that task, which will be, now that we've nationalized them, we must limit the amount of cash you can take out of your account. And that's the pattern they used in Greece and a couple of other countries, where you're allowed, even if you got $1 million in the bank, you can only take out like 50, 60 a week. And then that will throw the nation into a situation where they just cut it off completely. That's my opinion. So how fast is that? You've got a collapse before the new guy takes office in January. And soon after that person takes office, I would say within 90 days, certainly, they will have come up with a plan to save everybody's money, which is to nationalize financial institutions. So what are you talking, 90 days from January 20-something? Now, that's my opinion. So don't go spreading it around on the internet world, and I'm doing my KOC and saying that if we don't do the new Green Deal, the world's going to end in 12 years. That's not what I'm doing. I am doing comparisons to history, actual historical events in other nations that have succumbed to socialism and or communism or dictators.
And you know that well because of all the work you've done in countries that have fallen.
I know it too well. Now, there's one question that somebody asked me. I can't remember who it was. Why don't you ask me, Mary Ellen, so I can answer it?
The question about foreign banks?
No. Somebody needs to ask, I'm sure somebody's going to ask a question. What's the difference between socialism and communism?
Oh, okay. Just the speed at which you get there.
No, maybe that's part of it, but no. My answer, which is the hayseed dummy that I am, for those of you that don't know, look at it this way. There ain't no difference. There's not much difference between socialism and communism enough to, unless you start splitting hairs. They're both fundamentally, to me, the same. So we got that question out of the way. If anybody has a definition different than mine or an answer different than mine, please chat it in right now. Anybody else got a question, Mary Ellen?
I think people also throw fascism and Nazism in the same, communism, the four different terms. Okay, James asks, why is it that most Americans seem to believe all Hollywood movies are fact and get their history from fictional movies dressed up as fact?
Well, James, that's a good one, buddy. That is a good one. You'd be amazed, James wouldn't, I bet, but the rest of you might be amazed at how many people view movies that do historical kind of representations, and they think that's history. But if you watch a movie that's a quote unquote docudrama, where they're doing a movie version of something that really happened, watch for the key words. Watch for these words. It will say based on true events. Based on true events. But somewhere after that, it's going to tell you that, my words, I'm putting it in my words, some of the names are not, they're made up. Now, what that means is that I can take the Alamo, the siege of the Alamo, and I can put together a docudrama, and I can show the guys in the Alamo winning based off of a true event. But when I get through extending my poetic license and my dramatization, I can twist that puppy around. You don't get history, folks, watching movies, generally. You don't. Now, I would question also, James, how much history you get nowadays from history books. So I don't know how much better off we are with the history books. But bottom line, folks, when you see a movie based off of an actual event, if it says this is based on an actual occurrence, and then otherwise does any disclaimer whatsoever, it says the names have been changed to protect the innocent, or whatever the other disclaimer is, when you see that disclaimer, then you know that that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily a historic true fact in the movie.
James says, what better way to strip a country of its wealth than open borders from the third world, not based on merit?
That's right, James. That's exactly right. With our open borders that we have today, President Trump has done as good a job as I guess any man could do, pointing out, does it make sense that we're taking people from other countries that can't make it and don't contribute to the other countries and bring them here, because then they just fall on us to support. That's why if you ever wonder why you don't see support from Mexico or Honduras or Guatemala, any of these countries to stop it? Do you think if the people leaving those countries were producers for those nations, do you think the nations would let them go like this? No. Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, all of them are tickled pink to get rid of these people, because when they come here, they ain't got to worry about them. And what President Trump has done is try to point that out, and he's tried to put us on a merit-based immigration system. What does that mean? That means, why don't we take people into this country with open arms that are people that are producers, and can contribute to our economy, not drain off of it. What else you got, Mary?
I'm going to add to that. My parents sponsored a family from Cambodia. There were others at their church that also sponsored some couples from Cambodia. And to see what they are doing as producers now is really heartwarming. And that is what the story of immigration should be, because what they contribute to their community. And my folks have stayed in touch with them all these years after the Vietnam War. They've stayed in touch all these years, and they're friends. And to see what they're doing and how they have climbed, they have really lived the American dream. And that's the way it's supposed to be for people coming in. They want the American dream. The American dream is not welfare. That's just going to keep you down.
Well, let me say this also, folks. Now, by the way, nobody is dinging the PayPal. Not a single soul that I see past Randy. If you have, and I haven't acknowledged it, would you please quickly tell Mary Ellen with the chatter thing? Another thing that's confusing about immigration on the border. If somebody is in a country where they are truly running for their lives, then we let them in. We do, and we should, for humanitarian purposes, if nothing else. However, if you're running from, say, Guatemala, why do you go through Mexico to get to the United States? You see, people fleeing a country for fear are supposed to be checked off at the next country. So in other words, when they cross into Mexico, they're not in Guatemala anymore. That's who should, by law, international law, that's who should receive them, and that's where they belong. But what do we get? We get busloads of people coming from Guatemala, specifically driving across Mexico so they can get here. And then they come in, many of them, a majority come in claiming exile, and they make up some story that they're being chased by the government or they had to run whatever. And it's not true when we check it out. But then they're already in the country and we can't get them back. Can't get them back to court. What else you got, Mary Ellen, right quick? Nobody's dinging PayPal. Where are you? Can somebody do it just so that I know you're out there? Anybody's out there and gives an in? What you got, Mary Ellen?
Michael said that the difference between communism and socialism is communists have guns and socialists don't.
Yes, except, Michael, you'll be amazed. You will be amazed at how many guns socialist governments have when it gets down to it.
So another
usually as Mike's talking, what Mike's speaking of, I think, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but usually what Mike is referring to, socialism is more of a soft takeover. Oftentimes, communism is when they come in with tanks and guns. But socialism, once it takes over, it puts in play usually a very vigorous and robust army to deal with people inside the country, not an army to fight enemies outside.
And then the last question, Rindy asked about buying gold. She hasn't been here for the last few days, so.
Buying gold, now here again, let me state this out in the open, and it is recorded to prove it. I am not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. Do not want you to believe I am. I do not want to pretend to act as one. No way. All right, I just got 5 from Cindy. Thank you, Cindy. Do you understand that, folks? I'm not counseling you as a financial advisor. I'm counseling you simply as a person that is making a statement based off my opinion, partly from things I've seen, and partly from things that I just know. The simplest way to look at the problem with gold is this. If you buy a gold brick today and it caves, our country caves in, or it doesn't cave in, you're sitting here with a gold brick that you paid $1,000 for. Try to take that gold brick and go buy a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk. You can't do it. Gold can only be converted to cash for you to be able to buy stuff. The problem with converting gold to cash is that quite often, if you buy it today and for some reason you have to sell it in a week, if it hasn't gone up ridiculously, incredibly, you paid $1,000 for it. When you take it to somebody to cash it in to get cash, they're going to charge you spot. Spot rate is the price of the gold. So spots, I think it's 20%, maybe 10%, but let's say 20 right now. Check it out wherever you are. Look on the internet and you'll see what spot is on gold. But if it's 20%, you paid $1,000. So today you pay $1,000, tomorrow you cash it in. You're only going to get 800. And then the dealer that's cashing it in for you is going to say, but I got to make a profit, and I'm just using hypothetical 10%. So he's going to charge you 10%. So now for that $1,000 you bought today at $1,000, tomorrow you get $700 back. Well, golly, if that's the case, how do you ever come out with gold? It's possible that you buy gold 20, 30 years ago and you bought it for, say, $300 for that gold brick, not $1,000. You paid $400 for it 30 years ago. And tomorrow you cash it in. Well, you're going to still get $700, but you only paid $400 for it. So you come out with $300 ahead. You made money then. But how many of you need to look, all of you, at your gold, see when you bought it, see what you paid for it, and then do yourself a favor, guys. Do yourself a favor. Don't believe me. Do you hear me? Don't believe me. Take a portion of your gold, a piece of your gold, a gold brick or something that you know what you paid for. Take it to a dealer, wherever you go to cash it in, and just see what they'll cash it in for. When you do, you're going to find out a couple of things. Number one, it's going to work out about like I said. $1,000 brick of gold, in fact, is worth $700 in cash. Now, another kind of scam in the gold business, I call it a scam, that's my opinion, is this numismatic stuff. Numismatic, for folks that don't know, that's when they say this particular coin has an additional value. So it's 1 ounce of gold at $1,000, but it's this particular type of coin. And I'm not speaking of the antique, true antique type. I'm talking about the kind you see advertised on television and elsewhere. It's this particular coin. Instead of $1,000, you got to pay let's say $1,500 for it, for that coin. When you take it in to exchange it, guys, probably 80 to 90% of the time when you take it in to exchange it for cash, wherever you take it is going to say, look, all we do is pay for its weight in gold. That's what they'll do to you. They'll do it in a heartbeat. I've seen it. I've done it. It happens. It's happened every time I've ever tried to do it. It'll happen to you. So what is my assessment then overall? If this country, whether it is taken over socialism or whatever, and we just go through a downturn of some sort, downtrend, remember, guys, still to this day, cash is king. The whole purpose of having money is to be able to use it to buy things that you need as necessity or wants, needs or wants is one of the categories. But you need to have something that you can use as a currency. And cash in the foreseeable future is king. Anything you use other currency, if you go and try to take a yen or you try to take, a taco or whatever form you've got, when you go to cash it in, watch out because you've got to pay to get it converted. And oftentimes that costs you. And it hurts your value.
Do you
So I
know
hope that helps somebody in some way.
do you know anything about Google recording our conversations?
No, I don't. But do I believe they do? Yes. I believe Google right now today, my opinion, folks, I believe Google has the ability to monitor any and everything we do, except maybe use a telephone line pole or a line phone. But anything you do on these new, they call them smartphones, I think, anything you do on the internet, anything you do on a smartphone, you need to mentally think that they are, because they probably are. I remember the day when it was hard. They invented a program, I can't remember, Project Echelon. Echelon was a program during Clinton's administration where the NSA went to Canada with this technology where they could literally monitor, I think it was like 1 million or 2 million phone calls at one time. That was a big deal, a huge deal. And then they had in this system where it used keywords. So they were monitoring like 1 million phone calls, but at any call, if you said the word Clinton, then it moved you up to where they recorded that, they kept that recording of that call. And then using keyword technology, if you said Clinton, that moved you to the first level where they kept it. But then if you said a word like revolution, then that moved it into the next category up. And they were able then to record and keep conversations that they wanted to listen to. Instead of listening to all 1 million or 2 million, they could just zone into the ones they wanted to hear. That was incredible technology. When I broke the story years ago, I'm the one that broke the story about Project Echelon. And the reason the NSA took it to Canada, because it was illegal for them to do inside this country. So they had to move it to Canada, so therefore it wasn't being done in this country. The reason I tell you that story is so you can see how far we've come now. That was almost unbelievable in the day that anybody could automatically record that many conversations simultaneously and then use some technique other than somebody listening to every word of every conversation to keep it. Today, that sounds like a wagon wheel. I mean, it's that old a technology. Today, Google can not only monitor your computer, but it can monitor your phone call. And probably Google can monitor your brain if you just even think something. They probably figured a way to figure it out. And I can assure you, originally, people would talk and warn about your TV set being a camera that they could watch you. Well, that was kind of a conspiracy nut story back then. Well, guess what, folks? Today, every modern TV, every modern computer, anything just about that hooks to that computer, if you're not careful, the camera in it or the thing that's in it, it's got a camera somewhere and it can watch you even when it's off. That's not a conspiracy story. That's a fact.
Even when it's unplugged?
Well, not when it's unplugged, I shouldn't think. But I don't know. They may be able to do that if it's got a battery in it. Who knows? But I do know if you've got it off,
they have a way to turn it and use it. Yeah.
The camera, even if you've turned your computer off, the camera can still be on. That's why they recommend that if you've got a laptop with a camera, you make sure it's folded shut. You're not turning off the camera, but you're at least pointing it towards the keyboard, I guess, is the theory there.
Yeah.
Anybody, if you got any other questions, Rail, other than Cindy, nobody has rung the bell. And folks, I need it. I can't tell you any more than that. I need it. I need your help. I don't understand why you're not. That hurts. It hurts. It really does. It makes me feel. Anyway, what else you got, Mary Ellen, right quick?
Yeah, there are 3 questions. What about silver? Is Barr the real deal? Any connection between Trump and Epstein?
Okay, silver, I would give you the same opinion, my opinion, that I gave you for gold. Same difference. Second question was what?
Barr being the real deal?
To my knowledge, Barr is the real deal. Durham, for sure, is real. Now, having said that, I ask you all to watch, as I have before, Andy McCabe. If Barr passes in at least bringing McCabe before grand jury, I'm going to say at this point, if even if he doesn't prosecute him right out of the books, if he does not impanel a grand jury for McCabe, then I'm telling you, Barr is not what we hoped he would be. What's the last question?
Any connection between Trump and Epstein?
The only connection I know of, and this is from checking it out, so I'm not giving you this just, it's my opinion, but it's backed up by some research, I guess you'd say. The only experience with Trump and Epstein was that when Epstein got in trouble the first time for young women, Trump himself ordered him kicked out of the Mar-a-Lago country club and all other properties Trump had. No, there's no connection from Trump to the island, being on his plane, etc., etc. So on Epstein, I believe, based off my sources, which are just darn near about as good as you're going to get, there's no connection to Trump and Epstein other than Epstein at one point was a member of Mar-a-Lago, and then Trump himself got him kicked out.
Okay, just so you know, Larry, somebody has texted me about sending a check. So I will call them as soon as we get off and see what.
Now, there is a way, possibly, and I'm saying this possibly, if you've got to send a check and I need it immediately, there might be a way Mary Ellen can help work that out. But,
yeah.
You know, we can use like Western Union or something like that, by the way. So
yeah,
I have to tell you how to do that.
Yeah.
What you think?
Yep, I'll go over that with anybody who needs that. So if anybody needs, I'm putting the text message number, the phone number for text messages is going in the chat room right now. If anybody else needs it, needs another, oh shoot, I just deleted it. Let me try it again. Takes me a second because I don't have certain numbers on my keyboard anymore. If anybody needs help to donate, just let me know and we'll help you with that.
All right, guys. I hope
There it is.
it doesn't look that way from the people dinging the PayPal, but I do hope that you get something out of this program, because I'm doing the best I can to make you the most informed group that I can. And if you're wondering why I'm doing that, one day soon, you're going to see. One day soon, you're going to very much understand why I have put you through day after day after day training programs to burn stuff into your brain that you will need to use. You'll need to know it, and you do.
Okay, we are going to have a conference call immediately after this, and I just added the conference call number to a text right now. So I know we have somebody waiting for us to join.
Now, on the conference call, Mary Ellen, do you think it would be of any benefit if I came on for a few minutes?
Usually on Thursday, it's just Barb. So if anybody wants to talk to Larry directly, we could come on for a few minutes.
I will do that. So if anybody wants to talk to me, if you'll text me that number,
Yeah.
I will go on the conference call. Give me about 5 minutes to get my breath, and I will go on it with you.
All right. I'm putting the number in again. It's 712-451-0725. The access code is 492215#. You'll get a recording after you dial in that tells you to now put in the access code. So, all right, folks, thank you very much. Thanks, Larry. God bless you. And I'm dialing into the call right now.
All right, folks. Talk to you tomorrow or on the conference call in just a moment. Bye-bye.
Matthew's trying to send 25, but he's having trouble with PayPal. So send a text or come on the conference call, Matt, and we'll help you. Thank you.